Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, Chapter 47. Minli! Minli! Ma and Ba's happiness burst from them like exploding firecrackers, and even before she could open her eyes, they had flung themselves upon her. The joy! How it flowed and flooded over her, more golden than the king's dragon bracelet, sweeter than a peach from the Queen Mother's garden, and more beautiful than a goddess of heaven. Minli smiled, treasuring her good fortune. Ma and Ba only stopped hugging her when her stomach began to grumble with hunger. Ma rushed to make a special breakfast, taking out the carefully saved dried pork to make Minli's favorite porridge, while Ba jumped to get some fresh water to make tea. But when Ba went into the main room, he made a choking noise that caused Minli and Ma to come running. "What is that?" he said, pointing. Minli followed his finger and saw him pointing at her traveling possessions on the table. The fish swam merrily around in its bowl as the silk of her brocade bag made the sunlight skip around the room. "That is a bag given to me by the king of the city of bright moonlight," Minli said. "It is very fine, isn't it?" "Not that," Ba said, waving the bag away. "That!" And now Minli saw that he was pointing to Dragon's stone ball. "It's just a gift from a friend," Minli said, handing it to her father. Ba took it with his hands reverently, a look of awe on his face. "This is not just any gift," Ba whispered, and he took his sleeve and gently rubbed the surface of the stone. To Minli's great surprise, the grayness of the stone began to smudge away, and a translucent, lustrous glow seemed to shine through. "This is a dragon's pearl." Minli and Ma stared. "A dragon's pearl," Ma said slowly. She sat down and looked at Minli. "A dragon's pearl is worth the emperor's entire fortune." Minli opened her mouth, but before any words could come out, there was a great shouting and clamoring outside on the street. Ba quickly but carefully put the dragon pearl back on the table before they all hurried out to see what the uproar was about. "What is it?" Ma asked, grabbing a neighbor. The entire village had flowed into the street, talking and shouting like a flock of birds discovering a feast. "What is happening?" "It's Fruitless Mountain," the neighbor said. "Fruitless Mountain has turned green." "What?" Ba said. It's true, another neighbor chimed in. "Fruitless Mountain is no longer fruitless, and the Jade River is clear and fresh too." Minli, Ma, and Ba looked at the mountain. It was true. Fruitless Mountain was no longer a black shadow above them. As the day dawned, the mountain had transformed. A green lushness seemed to bloom from the rock. A jewel-colored splendor softened the sharp edges that had painfully sliced the sky. The sky itself seemed to be embracing the mountain. The wind softly caressed the newborn greenery with a nurturing breeze and skimmed the Jade River, the water now as clear as tears of joy. "How is this possible?" Ma asked. "Jade Dragon must be happy again," Ba said. "Perhaps she is reunited with one of her dragon children." Dragon, Minli thought, and her quick-thinking mind seemed to spin. Dragon said he was making his home on Fruitless Mountain. Could he be one of Jade Dragon's children? But how? Dragon was born from a painting, from paintbrushes and inkstones. And like an echo, Minli remembered Ma talking about the artist who had come to Fruitless Mountain many years ago. He took the mountain rock to carve into inking stones. Perhaps Dragon was born from an inkstone made of Fruitless Mountain, the heart of Jade Dragon. Then perhaps he was one of Jade Dragon's children. And by bringing him to Fruitless Mountain, Minli had discovered how to make Fruitless Mountain green again. Minli, a villager finally recovered from the shock of the green mountain, stared at Minli. "You came back! Everyone look! Minli has returned!" As the neighbors clambered around, Ma sighed, but it was a sigh of joy, a sound of happiness that floated like a butterfly in the air. "Good fortune has come to the village," Ma said, smiling, "and to us as well." "Yes," Ba said, looking affectionately at Minli, "but the best fortune is the one that returned." Minli smiled back, and suddenly, as she thought about her journey to and from Neverending Mountain, Minli realized that while she had not asked the Old Man of the Moon any of her questions, they all had been answered. That's the end of chapter 47.